Let's get ready for the next very exciting panel discussion. Our next session is on the very topical subject of today's times, which is realty, sales and marketing, the new age template. So let me introduce our panel members for this session. I welcome our moderator of the session, Pankaj Kapoor, founder and managing director, Liases Foras, Real Estate Rating and Research Private Limited. Pankaj has 20 plus years of experience in the field of valuation, consulting, and risk analytics. He's an acclaimed expert in analyzing and predicting real estate market trends in India. And Pankaj is best known in the industry for bringing in scientific approach and for developing reliable market database. Let me now introduce our expert panel in an alphabetical order. Our first panel member I introduce is Mr. Ibrahim Shariff, Vice President, Sales and Marketing, Bhartiya City Developers Private Limited. Ibrahim Shariff is a seasoned marketing professional with an executive MBA focused in general management from IIM Bangalore, and he has demonstrated history of working in the real estate industry as an expert professional skilled in negotiations, budgeting, business planning, value engineering, and sales. He is currently responsible for Bhartiya City that spans over 125 acres of land in the fastest growing region of North Bengaluru. Our next eminent panel member, Mr. Jajit Menon, Director, Sales and Marketing and CRM at Shriram Properties Limited. Mr. Jajit Menon has more than 20 years of experience in sales and marketing with strong experience in setting up of sales teams across verticals. He has accumulated cross-functional and cross-industrial experience from BFSI to retail to real estate, a pioneer in international real estate sales and a specialist in new market development. His far-sighted approach has always ensured growth in every market he has stepped in. Our next eminent panel member is Ms. Renu Singh, President, Sales and Marketing, Spaze Group. Renu Singh is a real estate and retail professional with over 16 years of experience across luxury sales, marketing, retail, leasing, commercial leasing and sales, event management, industrial, group housing, township, channel management, team management, corporate presentation, customer relationship management, referral sales, and possession. She has been involved in marketing and launching the projects in international markets such as USA, Canada, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Macau, Dubai, Singapore, etc. Our next panel member, I introduce Ms. Shivani, Karia, Jhaveri, Chief Marketing Officer for BLOX. Shivani Jhaveri comes from a strong foundation of retail and luxury branding and marketing. After having run campaigns for brands like Jimmy Choo, Versace, Bottega Veneta, she went ahead to become the brand manager at House of Anita Dogre for the luxury portfolio. She has 7+ years of experience in luxury retail omni-channel marketing and 5 years experience of growing startups from 0 to 1. She set out to create a strong brand in the PropTech space with BLOX, a digitally forward end-to-end ecosystem of home buying. Our next panel member is Mr. Sumit Lakhani, Chief Marketing Officer, Office Space Solutions. Sumit joined Awfis at the inception as part of core management team and heads demand and supply side function at Awfis. Key responsibility areas include sales, marketing, real estate acquisition, fundraising, and strategy. Under his aegis, Awfis has grown to become one of the most recognized and reputed consumer-focused brands in the co-working industry. Our next and final member of this panel, let me introduce Dr. Vishesh Rawat, Vice President, Sales and Marketing, M2K Group. Dr. Vishesh Rawat is a senior professional with over 21 years of experience in marketing, sales strategy, business development, and leasing. Currently, he is leading marketing, sales, and leasing terms of M2K Group and handling portfolio of residential, commercial, retail, real estate projects of the company. Earlier, he has worked at leadership positions with reputed real estate developers like Imami Realty, SS Group, Ansal API, and TDI Group. Leading from the fund, he has been instrumental in defining the new sales and marketing strategies and increasing the revenues drastically. So this is our eminent panel, and I hand it over to Mr. Kapoor now to take forward the conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sapna. Thank you, everyone joining in, and pleasure to get connected with you. I'll be probably trying to distribute the discussions into 3 segments, which is residential, commercial, office, and the retail segments, because I see the panelists have the experience in all 3 segments. So we'll be talking about that. And three perspective, we'll try to look at that pre and post pandemic, what has changed in the market, more from the angles of the products, consumer preferences, and how we are going to really distribute and reach out to them. And also in regards to the communications, what has changed in that particular perspective. There are some questions which I have written down, and some of these questions were such which were a question mark in my mind that I didn't have much of the answers. That's why I thought I'll be asking the panelists, and we can build and deliberate on this particular aspects of it. And having said that, if any pertinent questions which I missed out and the panelists think that it should be considered for discussions, I'll be very happy it can be brought. So everyone is moderated in that sense, not myself alone. And thank you once again. So I begin with the residential segments and residential market. And before getting into the marketing, first we really want to look at that what has happened to the product and how we are going to see the products. The first and foremost questions which came in, and especially what the kind of transition we have seen last 4-5 years, is that developers started fixing people into the budget, and so the prices continue to be the same, but the apartment sizes continue to be reducing. And then the pandemic came in, and then in this pandemic we have seen the demand for the bigger houses again coming back, and the people's sense of space has increased. The very pertinent question is that is there a demand for 900 square feet of a 2 BHKs or 900 square feet of a 3 BHK? Mr. Menon, Jajit, can I take your opinion on this particular?
Sure, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me, and welcome to all the panelists as well, and good to have all the fellow industry experts here. Thank you, Pankaj. I think it's a very interesting question, and that question goes on in everybody's mind. I'm sure that all of us really keeps on delving about that. Okay, when we go out in the market for a new product, what is the product design in today's time should be? And that has been there with us also. So yes, it's a kind of a little bit of a, I would say, in between question. I would say whether 900 square feet 2-bed, nice spacious place, or a 900 square feet 3-bed, which will give you a flexibility of having different space. There's a scope of both. My experience in last, I would say 1.5 years of this pandemic time, marketing and selling and everything, I would say there's scope in both, because we have various kind of product which fits in these two builds as well, and both has moved well. I will put it in two different directions. So there are people who are looking a smaller set of family, who would look for an upgradation, larger space, but doesn't want to have, say, 3-bed. They settle for a larger 2-bed. And there are new set of audiences who's looking for a not larger budget, but still needs to have a segregated space. I think there's a upcoming demand for both the set of things as well. That's what my take and my experience would be.
And what would be the percentage distributions if you were to really think about
development? Design and put it in the fourth? Is that, if I can understand that correctly?
No, assuming 3 BHK or 2 BHK, if you were to really take into consideration.
Okay, so the upgradation part of it, I mean, percentage is little lesser, but moving from a 2-bed to a 3-bed is a higher percentage.
Got it. This one more, leading questions comes is after pandemic, my own personal experience being like that, you coming from outside and then you need to sanitize yourself. So there would be a requirement in the designs which will be coming in, placement of the bathroom is going to be changing closer to the, the international style of it, or you would have a dishwasher place which has to be now getting dedicated, mini office setup because work from home and all these things, or your in-house gym, or build your clubhouse, be having a business center kind of a requirement and all those things. Is there such kind of thing which has started coming back into your mind, and when you're looking at a new project design and things?
Okay, interesting. Another interesting one, but again, it's a mixed bag of it again. because the uptake of these kind of requirements is not large, but yes, it is there. So it will all depend on the kind of audiences that we are targeting in that particular micro market or that particular market for say, and the kind of product that we want to deal in, and also keeping in mind the ticket size that we want to build in. So the entire design, I would put it in this way that we have done it in one of our products, is that we have tried to kind of accommodate all these things what you mentioned, maybe a smart space, a nice smart kitchen which will accommodate your say refrigerator, your dishwasher, or maybe a smart small utility space as well, which will take care of larger aspects of your daily things. And yet the entire apartment space will not go up that much, and it will keep that particular size very good enough. That's the first part of engine. Yes, I would say it is there, but the kind of uptake right now, it is not that drastically the designs are changing across. It's not like that. It is still there, but a small changes here and there. The second part of your question I would like to answer is the requirement of a business center or maybe a common space requirement. I mean, that is the area where all the design changes are happening. So if you see a Wi-Fi enabled business center or a coffee shop in a clubhouse is much talked about in a lot of developments across in the marketing jargons as well. And that is where the changes are happening. And it's been well received also. It is requirement because there's I would say, a need today, put it together like an hybrid way of functioning as far as a professional life is concerned. So I think that's the way things are moving in the future.
Yeah, I have another developers, Bhartiya cities, Mr. Ibrahim. If I put the same question to you, do you have same answers, or it's you have a different experience and different?
Yeah, I would say similar to the experience what Jajit was in fact mentioning. We have still not started designing the homes which are suitable to this kind of requirement, but definitely there have been requests. For example, earlier we never used to have a foyer. It was just like a direct entry to the 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. So people are looking for foyers or a small space where they can get inside before the apartment. They stop there and they sanitize themselves and come in. And for bigger units, like for a 3-bed study or a 4-bedroom, there has been a demand of a staff room or a servant quarter, I would say, which has got a separate entry and exit where people don't have to come from the main door, which we were practicing earlier, but there has been a lot of demand. And surprisingly, I'm seeing a lot of demand where we were talking about earlier question, we were talking about a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom. We also have a demand for a 2-bed study, where we make a 2-bed study, 1-bed study. Our offering is between 1-bed study to 2-bed study to 3-bed study. So these units have been on a lot of demand. If you see the percentage has drastically increased. So these kind of spaces, what we are talking about, be it the washroom closer to the living, or be it a space where one can sanitize and then enter into the apartment, there has been a lot of demand, I would say. So the market dynamics are changing. So be the design dynamics are changing. So one should definitely look at these kind of spaces where this will be the future. I mean, I wouldn't see for the next 3-4 years at least people not stopping work from home or learning from home. Though we have pandemic, we have been saying that pandemic. I mean, whatever we say that this will continue to be. So we should look at these kind of spaces where one is comfortable before entering into the house.
Amazing. Very interesting points. There's one more thought which is emerging in the mind is like, the demand is moving to the peripheral, but my own experience and the way I see the data, our own data, is that it's like two-way transitions. Like, there are people moving from smaller houses to better locations and bigger houses also. So there is an inward migrations, especially in Mumbai and some of these places, like, people who 15 years back were living in the peripheries because that's what they could afford. They sold that houses, and then during this pandemic time, they purchased the property much closer and bigger house because they didn't have the mortgage and they were well off by selling this. So they didn't have to take much of the liabilities in this framework. So, what is your experience, especially Ibrahim, do you think peripheral shift, or you are seeing the shift is either way? Like I'm saying that.
I would rather say, saying micro market, let's say, for example, our project is situated in North Bangalore. So if I have to consider, if I have to take a guesstimate of saying that people are from North Bangalore and people will purchase from North Bangalore, I would definitely be wrong. Because today, it's all about the data. Data is the new oil. So if you consider the data, if we do a data analytics, then we realize that 30 to 40% people who are purchased in Bhartiya city or North Bangalore are from different locations. So I would say, rather than saying micro market, it is more of a catchment area. So the catchment area is something which we need to understand, and it can only be by the data analytics. If you churn the data, only then you will be able to arrive at a conclusion from where this customers are.
But Ibrahim, have you seen any change in the shift, like, what used to be pre-COVID, spatial diffusions of the customers?
Yes, I've seen the shift, because now people are not looking at their workplace as the centric. Earlier, people wanted to stay closer to their office. People wanted to stay closer to their kids' school. But slowly we are seeing people want to enjoy more amenities, more of open space, open architecture, I would say. People don't mind staying away from their office or the school, because they are realizing that this is going to be there for 1 or 2 years down the line, and this is how it is going to continue. And people, there has been a shift. That is what I was saying. When I saw the data, I was pretty surprised. I mean, we have just launched Nico 4 project. With the data what we had earlier, we were trying to do the catchment area, and we are trying to target the micro market. But the market dynamics have changed post pandemic. While during the pandemic, the market dynamics have changed. Okay. One should look at the data.
Yeah. Mr. Vishesh, what's your opinion on the similar thing? Is like, is there a shift you are seeing in your projects also, or it is more to do with the specific micro
markets? In our property, we are having Victoria Garden as of now. And in that property, we are having apartments starting from 2,400 square feet onwards. So really, we don't have any small 2 BHKs there. So I don't have a definite conclusive data, whether there has been a shift in bigger houses demand. But yes, I can say, since we are having a good sales numbers, so demand is there for bigger houses. That's one. Number two, you said that design changes post-pandemic. So I feel, yes, I can say with conviction that in NCR, at least, the shift has been towards floors, because floors generally offer bigger sizes at lower rates. So there has been a huge demand in last 6 months to 1 year in sales of floors. So in floors, there have been 2-3 new launches in the market. We are also planning one floor project in Sector 104 of Gurgaon. So I have seen that, as per design is concerned, office setup in basement. So there is 3 offices, small offices in the basement, that is meant for ground floor, first floor, and second floor occupant. And third floor person, fourth floor person will have the terrace. So this is one design element that has been included. We are also considering on the same lines. In-house gym, this is difficult, because at the end of the day, we have to see what sort of space is available there. Business center in clubs, I think, very important, and everyone must consider depending on the size of the club. So these 2-3 things, I feel that this is very important from customers' perspective. We have been learning from last few months that these are the growth drivers. People will love to have these additional features.
Amazing. We have Shivani here also, and you are from PropTech, and I really want to know that how's the PropTech is going to be coming into fore. I'm seeing that for some time. I'm seeing last 4-5 years has been a period of the PropTech, and I also belong to the same category, and I onto the data analytics and other framework. So, in the broader sense, like how the today's customer is different, and how the PropTech is and the new age technology is going to really help the customers, and what is new coming, especially like, when it comes to your own platform and the way you are carrying out transactions and other thing. What is different now in comparison to a typical approach adopted by the traditional broker?
Thank you, Mr. Kapoor. I think PropTech is the new, in the last 5 years, it's something that, has been ever evolving. It has been around for about a decade, but in the last 5 years, and especially in the period that we've seen the pandemic, there has been an exponential rise in the digital adoption of our country. Even if you talk about people that are usually laggards in this stage of adoption, have now come online. Even housewives are online today because their children are studying online. So, given this revolution in India, this actually gave birth to BLOX. So essentially in PropTech space, what we've realized is people have become very welcoming in doing virtual site visits. AR, VR, 3D viewing is what earlier would be considered to be new age. Today is sort of a hygiene in the market where people are very comfortably doing these site visits. And add to that the O2O model, which is the online to offline model, which after selecting the home that you like through VR, you can go and visit a site in person. So this effectively is what we do at BLOX and what we are trying to do. But the core of PropTech lies in the AI and machine learning. Today, when we talk about data sciences in real estate, I think it has been the need of the hour. The consumer of today is more petulant. He is very, very informed. And earlier, they hoped that the marketeers know what they want. Today, they know exactly what they want and they demand it. Today's consumer is extremely well aware of the competition, extremely well aware of what is there in his micro market. So in PropTech space, the evolution sees a combination of these 4 C's, which is content, commerce, community, and convenience. So you have to be sure that you give the relevant content, and the relevant content is only delivered in a very, very meticulous data scientific approach. In addition to that, the commerce is how quickly can PropTech service a transaction for you or be able to give you what you want online. Community, in the pandemic, what we've seen is humans are ever evolving. So while they are settled with social distancing, they've realized that the community need has moved and seen a paradigm shift from in-person to online. So moment marketing has come up massively. When you talk about one campaign being viral, the bandwagon that the other brands jump on for that one brand is massive. So this actually builds a sense of a community online, and that's what people are looking for. The other thing is convenience. If you get to visit 10 sites that you like virtually without stepping out of your home in Bombay rains, then why not, right? Then you settle down on the one thing that you like the most, go ahead, visit that. And PropTech should also, there's a piece of the puzzle missing, which is post search and discovery. So what happens post search and discovery? More often than not, people are falling outside of the ecosystem in PropTech. So the solution is to give excellent post selection services, which is facilitating transaction, paperwork, and financing online. And this is something that we are working on with BLOX.
Amazing. But there are a few points which is there, and I probably throw this to the complete podium in a manner that the opinion is that is it happening, because there are dissonance in the mind when it comes to purchasing the property. I'll give you my own selections. I've been into the real estate. I've been analyzing for 20 years and do fairly good in terms of assessment of the real estate projects and other thing. But when it comes to purchasing property, and then which product, which locations, which builder, which micro markets, and the real estate being a subject which is like a special subject, like when you purchase the house, you don't purchase the house alone, you purchase the location, neighborhood, demographic, and every other thing. Now, how would you take into considerations? And then probably when you do the comparison, and I say that these are the 5 different parameters and on which the project has to be analyzed, and then I have to take a selections, then the price and value for money and many other things. Is there something which is happening, or to some what extent the prop tech is able to solve this dissonance, or is it at the end of it the consumer goes, makes a visit, feels satisfied, and then only he purchases property, or prop tech job is more to do with the communication part of it, not so far being able to give us final solutions which is alleviating the dissonances which is there in his mind.
Mr. Kapoor, you're absolutely right. This is a constant debate we get to hear, whether only virtual is enough. Do site visits also needed? There is a much larger picture when you're buying a home versus you're buying any other product. You're moving your family there. It's a big decision. It's a life decision. Naturally needs to be taken with the utmost care. So what we've seen happen in the prop tech spaces today, people are comfortable, and we've seen spot purchases happen with an online site visit where it's a virtual tour with 20 people participating in the virtual tour, and by the end of the conversation people have bought and spot bought lands. But when you are talking about moving into your own home, at that point, I think because we are at the precipice of the revolution, only digital does not still work. Physical visits is still very important. And when you mention communication, I think that's very key, because when you're communicating with a customer digitally, it is the lifestyle you're selling. It's how relevant that communication is and how tailor-made it is to the person receiving it. Everyone has different reasons why they want to buy it, and the communication needs to reach to them. While we are all doing site visits online, going in person has still not completely become redundant. But it sure has room for improvement. When you talk about Uber, it's very easy to book an Uber, but to book a site visit, there's a little bit of hassle that's involved. So, once we identify and bridge the gaps and solve the problem of how easy it is going to be, how convenient is it going to be for the customer to be able to digitally book a site visit and go to the site and see for himself or herself what that project is going to look like, I think that is what the future holds for us. The Gen Z has grown up in a very seamless tech integrated way. There's a whole generation of young teens in America who don't know what a cigarette is because they've only been vaping. And that's going to be the customer of tomorrow very soon. So, when we are talking about that kind of generation taking over and having the capacity to spend and purchase, I think we have to cater to that segment soon enough.
Yeah, I would like to take an opinion of Sumit now on office space. And frankly speaking, that's probably my own sense is that it has got impacted the maximum, especially because of the COVID. Retail, I still feel that it may probably recover the moment we are out of the lockdown, but the office really has a bigger issues. And our own data suggests we have increasing supplies, increasing vacancies, and reducing absorptions when you compare it from the last year to this year, net to net basis. The vacancy in last 1 year has increased from 15% to 18% at all India level. My supply, which used to be 658 million square feet of an A-grade office, has become 715 million because a lot of supply got ready also during this period. How do you look at the office market, and what is your forward-looking call? And one more thing I want to, before you start it off, I'm also seeing that the new supply is in the pipeline. I know at least other day the Prestige launching in Mumbai, then I had spoken to Hiranandani is launching. There is something which they are citing. So there are several questions. One is, how do you see the supply and demand situation? How long this particular stress likely to be? Post that, what will happen if vacancies increases, and why the new supply coming? Is this mean that new supply is going to be for the future needs of the companies? So what will happen to the old supply? There are n number of questions which is there in the mind, and the floor is of yours, and then yours, and then probably after the Renu can also join with the similar answers.
Thank you, Pankaj. Hi, good evening, everyone. Great to see, and hear a lot of optimism from residential side of things, and we are witnessing a great residential boom. I think two sectors are doing very well in this pandemic. residential and auto sector. People are moving away from the shared economy in that sense. Pankaj, to answer your point, I would say over the last 12 months, every week I listen to an obituary for commercial real estate, because everyone is working from home. The whole way the world is functioning, it's a very different kind of paradigm shift. Now, it's a major kind of a short-term impact on commercial real estate. The numbers speak for themselves. Now, where we see things are heading for CRE is also very interesting. Number one, we see, like you mentioned, 658 million square feet of grade A supply. We have another, 400 to 500 million square feet of grade B to, grade D supply in India. Now, the first thing we are, expecting is that this supply of grade B to grade D will start getting, a bit more, phased out. People will start moving to a more grade A supply. So that's a paradigm shift which will start happening, across all, at least tier 1 cities. Let's say various kind of industrial estates, various kind of mill compounds which are in Mumbai, which are housed to, a lot of companies. This is the time when people have really, not renewed their leases. So the next time when they are looking at their, office space, they will move to a bit better building. So an Indian workforce, 18 months down the line or 24 months down the line, will have a much better, much nicer, office space around. So
what does it mean that the old supply will see a stress?
So the old supply will get redeveloped. We are talking about, buildings which are 30, 40, 50 years old. They have, already gone through the life cycle. So you will start seeing a lot of redevelopment happening for that older supply. You will see a reinvestment, a lot of investment to either, improve on the building amenities for the older supply happening over the course of time. So it's a great opportunity for the organized builders. It's a great opportunity for buildings which are more newer. They have to just stay afloat water for the current times, and they will see a kind of a good demand. So that's the first scenario which we are seeing, which will happen around the market. Number two, what we see across a lot of cities, almost every developer has taken a kind of a pause. They are reassessing their overall liquidity scenario. The one best thing which could happen to Indian commercial real estate on a span of last 12 to 18 months is REITs. This is the first time in India where every developer can look at, every larger developer is looking at some kind of monetization. 3 larger REITs have already out, so it has removed a lot of stress from the system in terms of that monetization. Institutionalization of commercial real estate has already happened. Out of 650 million square feet of grade A office stock, only 300 million square feet of office stock was with institutional investors or more organized kind of players. Remaining was still with smaller and mid-sized developers. Now we are expecting almost about 2 to 3 more REITs coming up in the next 6 to or 12 months around. That monetization, that fund infusion in CRE is going to take care of for a lot of the sector. And because of that, we also see a lot of consolidation happening around. Larger players, acquiring smaller developers or the building of smaller developers. So it's removing, a lot of stress out over there. So on the back end, things are not that stressed as one, seems it would be, because things started getting streamlined from January of 2021, where occupiers started, taking decisions with respect to their existing spaces, what kind of real estate footprint they would want to have over the next 12 to 24 months. So that's the, the second phase around over here. I think it's a matter of about, I'm a bit more optimist. It's a matter of about, 6 to 9 months for at least a lot of organized CRE players, and they will be able to, ride through the current crisis. The worst is behind, if I can say.
Yeah, I'm saying that there's another thing which we are also experiencing. When do you think that the companies will start resuming full offices?
Right. So the return to office, the RTO aspect, it depends. The way we are seeing, so we run co-working centers across India, about 12 cities right now. Within our centers, what we are seeing is physical occupancies ranging from about contractual occupancies are quite different, but physical occupancies ranging from about 25% to 50% across cities. Today, I'm sitting in Calcutta, and this is a city where I'm seeing 50% kind of occupancies. The IT belts, the IT corridors in Bangalore and Hyderabad. In all honesty, those buildings are right now ghost towns. Very less kind of 10 to 15% kind of occupancies around over there. If you go to Mumbai, commercial companies, the front office staff, the staff, leading commercial decisions, sales and all, they are back to almost about 50 to 60% kind of occupancies. ITES, they are taking a longer time. We are expecting them to start coming back once both the doses of vaccinations are done for the employees. When we speak to larger occupiers, they are almost about 1 or 2 months away where both the doses of vaccinations are going to be done for the employees. So we expect them to start coming back to office, from November onwards. With respect to other BFSI and other spaces, they are already started coming back to office. Larger MNCs and these companies, they will start coming back. We expect from February and March once the global teams start coming back to various offices. Now, the only big if over here is, and that's the elephant in the room, the third wave. Let's see how it, whether it comes, does it come, in what format does it come, and how much, kind of lockdowns does it results in. So that's the only, aspect. But Pankaj, one of the major difference between sitting, in August of 2021 versus 2020 is we know what the wave is going to do, what the impact, and people are getting used to it. It has become a kind of a bit normal for people to come in masks, commute, wearing their masks and all. So, and everyone is prepared that over the next 6, 12 or 18 months, this could be the new normal. So, and in all honesty, you can't keep working from home forever in your life. You have to step out. If one is going to a mall, if one is going to a restaurant, if one is going to holidaying to Manali and other thing, but people will also start coming back to offices.
No, I completely agree to that. But there is also a talks going on. There's certain proportions of the employee will continue to be working because the corporate also have learned that it's a cost-effective measures for them. You run a co-working space, and frankly speaking, it has been a boon in disguise for you in a sense, because some of these companies started taking a call by reducing their capital expenditure or cutting down cost and all those things to move to co-working spaces. The other day we were reading about the ICICI has taken a call on for the 900 odd employees and things like it will continue to be working. That is there. But do you think the reductions in your own rentals? Because the reason is I have seen in past when the vacancies increases, we see a very sharp impact on the rental, especially in the office market. And I'm talking about when the global meltdown took place in 2008, 2009, and then till 2012, the market really remains subdued in that. So do you think that is what will happen? So in a manner, it looks good for the co-working guys that they can have their spaces come in at the cheaper options so that it'll become much more competitive in the sense. Do you think such kind of thing is happening?
Pankaj, there are 3 different questions. I'll address the first one. From a co-working industry perspective, this is one of the demonetization movement. What demonetization movement did for payments companies, pandemic is doing for the flexible workspace scenario. On one side, what we are seeing is unorganized players within the co-working industry are phasing out. This is a game now, a playground for almost 3 or 4 larger players only. So that's one aspect. And then there's a great tailwind of demand. Every large occupier you seen in this country has a flex office strategy now. Be it a Microsoft or an Apple or a Google, to any Indian large occupier, they have a flex office strategy. So it's a great kind of a scenario for co-working. So we are doing well. Every one of us is expanding right now. On the second part, with respect to the commercial real estate rentals, very, very local driven, very, very micro market driven. Even today, if you go to, let's say a BKC or a CBD in Bangalore, you will see a rental correction not more than about 5 to 7%. Yes, the deal structures are great. One gets, great kind of, rent-free periods. but not a major haircut in terms of the rental. Also because the inventory is being held by larger organized players who have a holding capacity right now because of REITs and other monetization mechanism. They are not under that kind of stress. So that kind of rental correction has not happened in a couple of micro markets. In fewer micro markets with very weak demand, where overall pre-COVID vacancies were almost 20-25%. There now vacancies have gone up. So there we have seen price corrections in terms of rentals for about about 15 to 25%. Overall, if we look at all the CBDs or the main micro markets, the rental corrections have not been have been in the range of about 3 to 10 odd percent, not more than that.
Okay. And which segment you see the more corrections is like which segment of the customers or the buildings dedicated to the segments? Is there issues with the IT or BFSI?
Yeah. So see, now the way we look at is India as a country, we never had the concept of work from home policies. No, very few Indian companies had the work from home policies. Now, the way we look at the real estate footprint shrinking for most of the Indian companies, we think about 10 to 15% of the employee workforce will never come back to office.
Yeah.
Right. About 20-25% of workforce will work in a hybrid kind of a model, which is work near home or satellite office kind of scenario, and remaining 60% will it's not going to get impacted at all. So that's the view we are seeing from the current kind of CRE output. There is a shrinkage we can expect from about 10 or 15 odd percent in terms of RE footprint. But if you look at the numbers, of IT, ITES sector hiring, the kind of hiring across the IT, ITES, it's a mind-boggling kind of thing. The growth which IT, ITES, companies are having over the last, 12 to 18 months, and the whole rise of digital economy coming up in India. I think that's gonna, make up for the overall shrinkage on demand primarily.
So which sector will drive the commercial this year, going forward, next 3 years, 5 years?
See, next 3-5 years, I will still put my bet on IT services because the kind of offering business we are seeing in India, it's huge. It's only that we will see the larger demand coming from them after March of 2022. Right now, there are 22 unicorns which have been established in India in this calendar year. 51 unicorns have been created since 2016. So the great part about for us is a lot of younger companies have started becoming larger. The kind of fund infusion in Indian companies is boosting a lot of employment. So across the new age economy sectors, we see a lot of demand coming up. So I will peg number one IT, ITS. Second is companies from new age economies. Third becomes BFSI, and then a lot of other sectors around.
Got it. I am not seeing Renu. Is she not joined, or I'm not able to see her?
So Pankaj, she is having some network issues. She is trying to log in back again.
Jajit, you also have got a good portfolio of commercials, and what's your take on the similar questions which I had?
Well, thanks, Pankaj. I appreciate from Mr. Lakhani that a good insight on the overall space. I think I mostly agree whatever he mentioned about it. In fact, our commercial portfolio has been quite large in Chennai. But I'll just put it very shortly that it's all about all these companies and all these sectors having commitments for next 3 to 4 years. Nobody's really backing out at all. It's just a matter of time that things will stabilize, because there's a large portion of workforce still to be needed to be in the front, to be there on the ground and working towards that. Yes, some portion would be required to be working in a hybrid model that may continue for about 12 to 18 months, and that may not impact too much. As we speak, I'm sure that everybody would know that 40 to 60 million square feet is in the pipeline right now as we speak. A lot of as far as commitments is concerned. So, and that's a number that we are talking about, and I don't think so that demand or that kind of a requirement will go down. Yes, these fluctuations may be from a rental perspective, what you asked for, or maybe a short change of some time limits that is required for it may be there, but from a long-term perspective, I think it's there. We don't need to really worry too much about it.
Got it. Got it. Is there anyone else's who have got differential view on this? I'll be very happy to, something. Coming back to the residential again, I'm saying that, we talked about the design and
Jajit and Sumit, perspective for office is pretty positive, and I have seen that we have not lost a single tenant in last 1 year.
Okay.
Yes, there have been demands for certain changes in agreement terms and conditions and rent waivers and all. To some extent, we have considered those things, but yes, now things are back to the track almost, I would say, and people are looking at long-term commitment. There has been some waivers for very limited time. By doing so, we are able to retain all the tenants. So long-term, the scenario is positive only, because I believe humans are a social animal, and work from home concept will not do good for a longer period of time. So as soon as pandemic fear goes down, it will be booming again.
And what are the new demands in terms of agreement terms and other things? Like, is there any changes which you are seeing with the new tenants and then the kind of a agreement which he is signing?
This was all agreements earlier. Let's specify it in detail now. So what all things should be considered under force majeure? This is one. Number two, government-induced lockdown should be a waiver of rental for that government-induced lockdown. So there are two things that are going to be part of new agreements as far as retail and commercial tenants are concerned.
True. And anyone who can really throw some light on the upcoming fractional ownership concepts in this? How big is this, and how much it is going to really be impacting the market, and how long it is likely to go forward? Ibrahim, you have any perspective on that?
In terms of office segment?
Yeah, office segment.
I don't handle office segment. I don't have much insight.
Yeah. So anyone else,
Pankaj, I can take a stab at the new trend around on fractional ownership for commercial real estate. It's an upcoming and very nascent trend. What we're seeing in the whole industry. Very straightforward concept. A single a unit, let's say a 25,000 square feet of unit owned by 50 to 100 different owners. It from a consumer side, it opens an interesting investment avenue to invest in commercial real estate. A lot of people are on the sidelines to invest in real estate because of the larger ticket size. It very clearly enables an investment from these retail investors directly into commercial real estate. So that's a big positive. Number one. Number two, from a commercial real estate owner perspective, it's a big positive because otherwise to monetize their properties, it becomes very difficult for them to monetize their their properties, especially the properties which are not leased for a longer period of time. So from the buyer of property, this asset, it's a great thing. From a seller of this unit, it's a great aspect because otherwise the monetization only for the larger, organized commercial aspect. There are though couple of challenges because the industry is a bit new. Number one is the transaction structures. There is still some minor gray area around in terms of regulations, how it will pan out. But I think regulators are working around with respective companies, and they will be able to figure that aspect. The other challenge we see is in terms of overall demand. Would people want to invest directly in a liquid asset like REIT? Because retail investors now have that avenue to invest directly into REIT, or would they want to invest and take a bit larger kind of an investment share in a single unit? So that's something in a span of next 12 to 18 months, we'll be able to see how the consumer ends up behaving around on a fractional thing. But very, very interesting trend, which is happening around on commercial. On residential, I think it's going to be a bit difficult because the yields on residential real estate in India from the rental yields are quite low, in between 2 to 4%. So I'm not sure if a financial product can be created around from fractional ownership perspective.
I agree. I completely agree with that point. coming back to Shivani and about the branding and the marketing aspects, how important the branding now. And because in past I've seen, and I have got different experience to it, like saying that it has always been a reason, especially when it comes to the real estate, people hire the celebrities and put them into the face, and then built in the big brands, and then we have seen the big defaults among some of these big names and all those things. Now, what role the branding is still plays, when we see the past has been something in that order, is it adding the credibility, or how important it is in the current age of the marketing, and what is it achieving?
So in the last 5 to 7 years, we've seen a paradigm shift where a lot of non-believers of branded real estate have become believers. When you talk about a lot of pioneering developers like Lodha, Rustamji, the way they sell lifestyle has become very aspirational to the customer today. And if you talk about the marketing of it, this is a very good time in the era of marketing where there is a perfect confluence of art and science. So what is the position of the project in that micro market? What are the amenities people are preferring? What is the kind of typography that people want? Now there are decks in bedroom because after being cooped up in homes, people have realized the space for the need for having space in their bedroom outside of the balcony. So identifying these needs and creating a product around that, or having sanitization stations in the lobby and the ground floor. So when you understand and identify that, okay, this is the kind of project that needs to be built out, and these are the kind of elements and features that need to be promoted, combine that with performance marketing, and you have yourself a solid marketing campaign today. And speaking of branded real estate, all of us have seen many examples where there are two projects getting constructed on two sides of the road, where one is selling 2x price per square foot than the other because it's branded, because it has created a buzz in the market, because it's from a credible developer, and they've identified that, okay, this is how we aspire, we create the aspiration for people to live. So I think over time, slowly, gradually, the movement will come where a branded real estate, in my opinion, will become quite essential.
Is it Ibrahim, I have
For
a
the
similar
premium,
question.
the delta on the price per square.
Yeah, is it true in the current market, which is actually the buyer's market? Is the brand positioning is the one which is bringing the price, or it is a product which is bringing the price, which is your architectural design, your product amenities, or your past conduct, and how well the building is constructed, or many other features. How much is because some of these branded developer, or branded projects which I'm seeing that they did not really perform to the level they were positioned once upon a time. I'll talk about, I don't want to really name the projects one by one, but some of them have not. But I'm saying that if the product is good, and micro market is good, and the project has been conducted well by the developer. So in that sense, what do you mean by the branding? Is this a branding of newspaper ad, or a specific way of communication, or is it a conduct and overall what has been working? And I was very inspired by the projects when you launched Bhartiya City and other things. So what's your opinion? And then I want really others' opinions also.
Sure. So Pankaj, let me just give a little insight of how we started. When we started, we definitely were in the ads, and definitely you saw the city painted red with Bhartiya City and so on and so forth. And we also did a lot of live concerts for us to introduce the location to the market. Well, we started, Bhartiya City was not a known brand. Bhartiya City was into designing. This was the first project. And we all took the leap of faith in getting into this project and joining hands, and also do the brand, promoting the brand. But it is equally important for us to promote the brand, any new brand or an existing brand for that matter. But eventually what matters is what we deliver. For example, if I would have promoted this Bhartiya as the largest mixed use development or a township in the city, and I wouldn't have delivered what I have promised, then this brand value, it is just a snap it takes for the brand value to dilute. So it is equally important for you to introduce the brand, but eventually what matters is the design and of course the delivery. Because today every customer is, as a couple of panelists rightly mentioned here, are pro-consumer. They know what exactly they want. It is not just the speculation. They exactly know what they want. So delivery is equally important. The design is equally important. And yes, brand value plays a role. But of course, brand value cannot be only based on the promotion or the way you market yourself, but it also depends on how you deliver what you have promised. So that is a very important point. One should take it further.
Mr. Menon.
Yeah, Pankaj, I would like to add to this. I mean, I go back to what Shivani was discussing about the prop tech. She mentioned about customers are well informed, and that's true to a core. Is it as a consumers, us, we are extremely informed. Not doesn't matter whether we are from real estate or any other product that we buy, for that matter. What I want to kind of highlight here is that a brand positioning. From a brand perspective on what stable the product is coming from, or a product perspective, a product brand perspective, how are you positioning yourself? It's all about that, the perception that I carry about my particular product or my particular brand. If that perception is, you are able to transfer that perception to the consumer's mind, I think we'll be able to do a fantastic job. And because the customers are extremely informed, they are spending too much of time and I mean, I would not say this, but thankful to pandemic on the digital space, they've been extremely kind of exploited themselves. So what is happening is that they are very, very, very practical. So we cannot really fool around with them. We just need to position our brand as simple, as honest and transparent as possible, so that customers can look forward to a product and relate to the product what exactly they are perceiving for. And that is what I would position the brand positioning, maybe from the stable where it is coming from, or the product that somebody is consuming.
And at all India level, is there 3 names coming in your mind when the way you are describing?
Sorry, Pankaj, network issue. I missed that point.
At all India level, is there any 3 names emerging in your mind when qualifying the statement which you have said?
Okay, that'll be quite funny to mention competition, but to be very honest, it's very honest, and I believe a couple of names being taken. I have worked with Lodha as well. I mean, the way they have created the brand perception is amazing. That's one name that come across. Another one is Hirandani, the kind of brand pull they have got. I mean, these 2 names really come up very well as far as the perception as well as delivery. Yes, of course, as you mentioned, the conduct and everything is extremely important. But when a consumer kind of takes a decision of transaction, not just sampling part of it, even during the sampling part also, is that they know it all. I mean, we cannot really judge a customer by saying just putting some supermodel there on a newspaper. We cannot really do anything out of it. We just have to ensure that whatever our perceptions is about our brand and our product is, it is carried forward very practically into the consumer's mind.
Yeah, we haven't really touched much on the retail front. If your experience, Jajit, your Vishesh, or anyone, if want to really put a highlight on that, what's the state of the retail and what's kind of outreach?
Well, Pankaj, we don't have much of retail portfolio right now. I would request some other panelists to take that.
Yeah,
please.
Is there anyone? Okay.
I think.
Yeah, please.
As far as retail is concerned, it is one of the most impacted industry as of now, because people were not moving out. They were apprehensive about the virus. But long-term perspective, again, I would say that it is positive only, because people have to move out. They have a social tendency. They will go for dine out. Yeah. So this is must that people have to come out. And in fact, I was just going through a report a day before. There was a report in arabianbusiness.com that MR malls have posted 80% jump in net profit as shoppers have returned again. This is in comparison with last year. So this is for first 6 months, April to current time. So in comparison to the last year, they have increased 80% of revenues. India, again, like I have seen, there are few of commercial properties. So people are started coming back to the malls. Hello.
Yeah. No, I got the point on those particular front. On the residential front, coming back to what kind of a outlook we are seeing.
So can I take this question, Pankaj?
Please.
Yeah. So on an outlook, it is positive. Everyone has been saying it is positive. Let me just get into a little bit of detail in explaining you how it is, because there's a lot of demand for a move-in, ready-to-move-in product. So if you see today in Mumbai, in Gurgaon, there are a lot of, it's been there for the last 10 years, but still if you see now, the demand is more for
I think there is some network.
Ready-to-move-in product. But also today, home has been much important. It is not just about four walls. Everyone is aspiring to go for a bigger space, and the appetite for owning an apartment has gone up. For the living space has gone up, and I would say it is much brighter than what it was, and we should look at it as a very positive note. That's what I could say.
Two things which I want to really look at, and which may be putting some different perspective to it, is like we are seeing unsold inventories in the ready is just 7%, 93% falls into the under construction. While in terms of, you see the sales proportions, 25% of the sales comes from the ready. In the ready, we have got 17 months of inventory, and in under construction, we have got 63 months of the month's inventory, which says the overhang in the market. Last 1 year, financial year, the revenue booked by the developers have dropped by 40%. So now question is the demand moving to the ready, and customers' finances and the financial closure have a dependency of the sales in the under construction. At least 50-55% of the project's financing is from the customer advances. I see that as a looming stress on the real estate market, especially the execution of under construction property, because we have garnered lesser revenues on that particular front. And while the demand has shifted to ready, and various reasons, the GST has been one of the biggest demotivator for the people to go forward in purchasing, and plus the execution risk they don't want to really take in the current market. This point of view is suggested, and then there have been narratives that because of the input cost, the prices may go up. Now, do you think in all three perspective point of view, the builders have propositions available for increase in the property prices, or it will be only certain micro market, certain projects oriented, the focus will continue to be in the ready, and how do we really shift the preferences of the customer towards the under construction sales, because that's very essential for the sustainability and economic prudence of this particular project. Ibrahim, yours, and Jajit, and anyone else wants to really add. Probably this would be the last.
So Pankaj, that's a nice mixed bag of question again, because it really reflects on how the next few years looks like for the residential portfolio per se. Now, I would put it in three different categories. As far as the price increase that you mentioned, it is inevitable. Yes, the input costs are high. Some portion of pricing will definitely has to move up. But as far as the demand or the requirement of the consumers for the residential housing, even though under construction is concerned, it's going to remain a little bit on a higher side. It's just a matter of time. Yes, there's you would put it that way, that the risk that a consumer wants to take for the exposure right now, maybe little not in the game that as it was in the last few years, but just a matter of time. It'll just jump in sometime, because as Ibrahim rightly said, the need of home for all of us, everybody is realizing as desperately as possible. So if there's a good product in a fantastic micro market, in a fantastic market, there is a demand for that particular, even though it's an under construction. Yes, there was a little bit of a, I would say, a shift towards an RTMI, and that's the reason you see that overhang has extrapolated to that particular level today. But the demand for under construction is still there. As I speak, I just speak for Shriram brand. All the projects that we launched in the pandemic time, I'm happy to say that those were sold to the tune of 50%. Those are under construction to be delivered in next 3 to 4 years, and that shows that there's a particular demand, and I believe that will remain as it is. Input costs are there; it will go up. Yes, a lot of things have been. We all have to consume the pandemic push that has been put on to us. Steel, cement, labor, whatever you call it, and everything is there. The last part, GST and the financial proposition or a financial structuring of the overall setup, I think government is doing a pretty good job in that particular area, wherein it is restructuring or a little bit of a delayed structuring or something of that sort is being offered, which helps for a developer to sail through in this particular time, and also gives a consumer, as you see, as we speak right now, all of us know that how the interest rate has come down, which was also a very helpful situation for our consumers. And I think moving forward, all these situations put together, it's going to be a great story to come up. It's just a matter of time, I believe, as I said in the commercial part also.
Yeah, I think we have probably crossed the line, and Sapna has appeared. So it's probably an indication for me to conclude. And I think you put through the proper concluding remarks for this particular panel. I thank you, everyone. And Sapna, over to you.
Thank you so much, Pankaj. I think it was a great discussion. We spoke about all the segments, how they are, how we are going to see the future trends, and including the technology part of it, how technology is going to be an enabler going forward. So we are seeing, like Sumit mentioned, commercial spaces seeing a lot of specializations with co-working spaces, managed offices, REITs coming in, residential. Everyone mentioned how the developers are focusing on the product offerings now, and there is a demand in all segments, and we are hopeful for a great 2022. Looking at how 2021 has been for real estate. So we have had great learnings and great opportunities as well. So thanks everyone for sharing your views, sharing your opinions, and giving us the sense of what is happening and what the Newage template is going to be for Indian real estate. So thank you so much. Thanks, Pankaj, for that wonderful moderation. Thanks, Shivani, for sharing your views. Dr. Rawat, thank you for being here with us. Ibrahim, thanks for sharing your opinion on how things are going to look forward. And Mr. Menon, thank you for being here with us. Sumit, Lakhani, always a pleasure to have you.